My next guest is a veteran journalist who has worked for Netwerk 24, Rapport, Die Burger and Beeld, excuse my Afrikaans in this, in a career spanning 30 years. She has a very special interest in royal news in particular and has covered several high-profile do's, including Will and Kate's wedding in 2011 and the late Queen Elizabeth's funeral last month. But her royals obsession extends beyond the British crown, which is why Arlene Prinsloo joins me now to chat about her new book, Charlene, In Search of a Princess. Welcome, Arlene.
Thank you, Samantha.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show to be chatting about this. Charlene is a homegrown princess. She's South African. Before we get stuck into why, besides her being South African and of special interest to us as a nation, why you wanted to write this book, I want to congratulate you because today is, in fact, the 4th of October. It's publication day for you, not so?
Yes, the big day is here, finally.
That's
I'm very
amazing.
excited.
It's no mean feat, especially when you have a day job on the go, and you've just flown in from the funeral. I mean, we were chatting about all of your travels. That's really incredible. You're really into this royal stuff.
Yeah, my friends in London say they only see me for weddings and funerals.
Royal weddings and funerals.
Royal weddings and funerals, yes.
So, like I mentioned, Charlene, the Princess of Monaco. What is her title? Her Royal Highness? Her
Serene Highness.
Her Serene Highness, Charlene, Princess of Monaco. Of course, she's homegrown. We love her. We know her as Charlene Woodstock, South African Olympian, Olympic swimmer. What besides that, the South African interest, made you delve into this content, and why now?
She was so much in the news last year when she got ill and she got stuck in South Africa. And I felt, even as a journalist, I just felt that some of the criticism against her, I felt was really unbecoming. It was, especially in the Belgian and the German press, they really got nasty. And without giving too much away, I just felt, she just deserved a chance to be heard. And I'm incredibly proud of this homegrown swimmer who actually swam her way into a prince's heart. We all love the glamour surrounding fairy tales and stuff, but it's not all glamour. It's a tough life, and she's had a wobble, but she's back on her feet again. And I wanted to bring that out in the book
to honor that coming back moment after a fraught 2021, which we are going to get stuck into. So for anyone listening, stay tuned because we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of what happened last year. As you say, Arlene, Charlene, in your book, you say Charlene, like Diana, has what you term a deadly mix of royalty and celebrity. And like Charlize Theron, she grew up in Benoni, which is right around the corner from me, and caught a prince's eye. What's not to love about this story, right? Except it's not all rainbows, unicorns, and fairy tales. Also, this is an unauthorized biography, which is not uncommon in the world of publishing. But still, with that said, your fellow Jonathan Ball author Jeremy Daniels got a lot of flack about his unauthorized biography of our Springbok rugby captain, Siya Kolisi. Do you feel like you've got some heat coming for this unauthorized biography?
Perhaps I'm a little bit naive. It's not a hatchet job. That's not a type of person I am. That was not my intention with the book. I did contact the palace. I did inform them I'm writing a book. I did contact her foundation. I spoke to her sister-in-law. I tried to speak to her brother. That didn't go too well. I spoke to a few people that's really in this very small select circle around her, so they knew about the book. Her lawyer told me that he would inform her about the book and ask her, if she was prepared to to participate, or if her family could participate. I was only met by silence afterwards. So I felt that from my point of view, I really tried to, through the palace and her closest family that she knew about the book. I also contacted a lot of her friends, really people who are still in that very small select crowd around her. They also knew, most of them said they don't want to be interviewed for the book, which I respected. So no, if there's no, I don't expect any heat to come.
You did manage to get, it would appear from your writing, that to speak with Chantal Wittstock, who is the current CEO of the Princess Charlene of Monaco Foundation. So you got her sister-in-law on the record. What went wrong with her brothers?
Chantal, I spoke to Chantal, but I haven't included any of our conversations in the book, actually. It was off the record when I spoke to her. Her brother just wasn't, one brother wasn't prepared to talk to me at all. He said I had to work through his wife, Chantal. So I had to work with what is in the public domain, which took a lot of research, because not everything that you find on the internet is necessarily true. So people are going to say, but how do you know that's true? But you go to the original source of a story, because I don't think people know that, but publication A will break a story, and publication B, C, D, and E will take some of publications A info and put a little bit into it and embroider a bit on it. And by the time you get to publication H, publication's A story has disappeared in publication H. So I did a lot of research. And I also looked for a lot of any interview I could find where either Charlene spoke in person to a journalist, or Prince Albert spoke in person to journalists. And I've actually got a few things on YouTube videos. And I also spoke to a lot of journalists who had interviewed her, and for like an hour or 2 hours at a stretch, or spent a day with her at least, who could give me an idea of the type of person she is. But the little inner circle around her is extremely tight. But I got interviews with people who had known her when she was a swimmer, and who still has contact with her, who were prepared to not really, but give me insight into what type of person she is.
So the story and the type of person she is, we're going to get to. It's been mired in controversy, and yet your preface is titled, "I Believe in Fairy Tales." I'm not sure I do, if I'm honest. I'm not a royals follower. I mean, all the big news, very broadly I follow. And I think that's where it really ends. But especially after reading your book, I'm more worried about Charlene, the South African, the mom, not Charlene, the Principality of Monaco's princess. As a fellow South African, something is wrong here, Arlene. Something is off, and I don't want to be one of those members of the press who give her heat. I feel like I'm coming into this concerned, and I'm not sure. How do you feel? What was after doing all of your research, coming to sort of say the middle of this year? I think you last mentioned May 2022. What do you make of her, how she's feeling at this point?
I think the fact that she is South African, I think South Africans are very resilient. And I think her training as a swimmer, this is what's going to pull her through. What I do like is that she hasn't gone back to Monaco after spending time in the clinic. She hasn't gone back like in full bang into her royal duties. She is pacing herself. And for me, that is the most important, because that says to me she is spending time with her husband and her children, and most importantly, having that me time. That's important for especially somebody that lives in the public eye like she does. She's got something different for me, and it's not because she's South African. She's got that mix. She's got that special something that Diana had. She's a glamour girl, but she's also a woman and she's also a princess. And I don't think she got enough downtime to really, between all their duties, and she's got twins. Yeah, she's got helpers and she's got child minders and stuff, but it's still her children. So something seriously went wrong last year, and it seems to me she's back on. She's back getting healthy again.
Well, I hope you're right. Let's go back to sort of where it all started. The introduction. Your introduction was very interesting to me. You took a first-person narrative approach. The only time you do so in the book, as far as I recall. And in an attempt to what? Explain the tears on her wedding day? What made you take the first-person narrative approach?
That's right. The whole thing, that the few tears that she had at the wedding became front page news worldwide. You know, the tearful bride, you know, the unhappy bride. I thought it was a very unfair tag, because if you look at the whole wedding again, and I rewatched the whole video like in 6-7 times, it's a few minutes in a whole day that she had to perform. She had to be this perfect princess. And I felt, gosh, you know, how unfair that she got emotional. Which bride doesn't get emotional on their wedding day? Bridegrooms cry when they see their bride coming up the aisle, and it's fine. But because it was Charlene, and because there was all these rumors going around just before the wedding, I just thought, I wanted to show that what I thought was humanity. She's very religious. She tried to be perfect. Her emotions got the better of her. So what? She's a human being. That's what makes her so fantastic. She's human. She's not this ice princess.
Is there no credibility to any of the rumors of the times that she, quote unquote, tried to run away? You do mention, you cite plenty of sources, and one in particular that caught my eye was a controversy around a reputable French publication who wrote something and refused to take it down, even though the prince's lawyers had gotten involved at that point. Was there any truth to any of the controversy, or is it something that we simply cannot confirm at this point?
I don't think we will ever be able to confirm it. What was interesting to me was when I was doing the research and unpacking everything, was to see, you know, A writes something and then B follows up and then C follows up. What was interesting is that the publication who first published this runaway bride thing never did a retraction. They actually just put the palace's refutal of the rumors on top of the story. It's still on their website. But it's like a French journalist also said, you know, it's not like a prince can say, no, you know, my fiancé didn't try to run away before the wedding. It's so unbecoming. I think it was Monaco isn't just all glitz and glamour. Because Albert is the ruler of a principality, he's like a CEO. And I think he's probably made decisions that not everybody has been happy with. And perhaps those rumors started from somebody there who tried to get to the prince and used Charlene as a pawn. I don't know.
So you would hazard a guess that it's vindictive?
I think it's vindictive. If you look at most of the high-flying royals these days, the stories that usually come out, it's usually a disgruntled employee, or a story is planted and it gets wings, and then people believe it. They actually believe that it's the truth. Somewhere there must be truth in all these rumors surrounding Charlene and Albert, but it can be a misunderstanding. You know, you don't know. I just think she had a very, very tough time adjusting in Monaco. I've just, I'm also a big Princess Diana fan. I've just read somewhere that she was married about 10 years when she said she truly only understood royal life after being married to Charles for 10 years. It was 7 or 8 or something, but it was a ridiculous. I just thought after, it was more than 5 years, and I thought, shoot, it really took you that long. And then it gives you the context of, why Meghan and Harry decided to up and leave for America, and why some stick around like Catherine does, and why Charlene had this health battle.
Princess Grace also had something to say at the 10-year mark. You mentioned it in the book, so I'm going to leave it to you. What does she say at the 10-year mark?
When Prince Rainier asked her what she wanted for a 10-year gift for the anniversary, she said to him, a year off, just to get away from all the correspondence and duties. And people really think that princes and princesses have nothing to do, that they just go and shake hands once in a while and, drive a horse around or something. And there's a lot of admin involved, even if they have ladies in waiting that answer letters and stuff. But that was interesting that Grace said that, I want a year off. So
look, Arlene, I'm not going to lie. I'm a mom of 2. I'm not a princess, but I want a year off. So I can just imagine. I can really, I commiserate so much. I think that's why I have this sort of deep-seated concern for Charlene, is because I can, her evident pain or surface level pain, feels very real to me. And that's where my concern with that lies,
I actually hope that in a world where, they see there's such a stigma attached to mental health. If you come out and say, I've got mental health problems, and it's something that Prince Harry has battled with, and even Prince William and Catherine is trying to, break that stigma. But if Charlene if she comes out and says, I had as you all know, I had health issues and I had a breakdown, the press is going to go ballistic over that. And it would have been actually great for me if she would give us an inkling of what was really wrong with her to help break stigmas. But, I'm also it's my guesswork, because as a mom of 2, yes, you would like a break, but you're not going to stay away from your kids for 8 months. I think that must have broken her heart to be away from her twins. Even if I came and visited her, it must have been terrible.
I agree. I am on board with you. I want to know, and not out of curiosity, and not out of I'm not a royal follower. So not because I'm after the juice, because I want that aired. Let's talk about this, because she's not the only one. So you end your introduction, first person narrative, with such a sad notion for me. I don't know if that was intentional. I'm going to quote you here. Mm-hmm. May this be a new beginning for me too. She's just said her adieux. She almost put Prince Albert's ring on the wrong hand. A lot of faux pas happened. She'd been crying, which was taken up, very wrongly. And you write, on her behalf, may this day be a new beginning for me too. I'm now not only African, but is it Monegasque? Is that the right way to say it? Monegasque? I still can't believe it. This is our new life. I've left Mademoiselle Woodstock behind. I know our love is strong, but will it be enough? Number 1, I've left Mademoiselle Woodstock behind. Identity is such a big thing for a woman. And then a married woman, and then a woman who becomes a mom. And she's left that person behind. That's hard. And then, will their love be enough? I think we've seen from other royal stories that it's not enough. There's so much more, as you've said, there's so much more to being a royal. It's not an easy life. I have my doubts as to whether it's necessary or not, but let me not take people's royals' joy away from them. It's sad. It's sad for me. Was it meant to be sad, that moment?
Yes. I wanted it to be like that, because I've never been married, but I've spoken to a lot of my friends, and they all say to me, you are actually petrified the day that you get married, because you don't know. You think your love is strong enough, but will it last? And even though she looked, for me, she was an absolute serene bride. She was beautiful, absolutely, and so graceful. But she must have felt that fear inside her of, am I good enough? Am I perfect enough? Or I've made a mistake, I nearly put the ring on the wrong, and now I've cried. And I wanted to bring that a little bit in.
So that introduction is pretty speculative. You've taken some creative license.
Complete, yeah.
Only in that chapter, I must say, for the readers. It's only that chapter. Otherwise, you draw on the rest of your sources. You bring in body language experts and the lip readers that are used commonly to scrutinize the royals. What do you make of them? Do you think that there's any credibility in hyper scrutinizing celebrities like that?
I wanted to bring that in because she had mentioned in an interview how she has to be very conscious when talking in public or when saying something to Albert that there are lip readers, that the palace warned her about that, just to show people how intense the media focus actually is. The body language experts, I got out of the Daily Mail, one of the biggest British tabloids, which they love using a body language expert. I read it purely to have a good laugh.
So you don't think that there's any credibility to that?
It's if you are permanently in the public eye, I'm sure you like an actor and actress. You can be trained how to behave in public. Even somebody like Catherine, Prince William's wife, is extremely shy, and she comes over as extremely confident. She's gotten used to the role. So I don't put too much value on a body language.
We're gonna chat about the Daily Mail in a bit, but it looks like you had a lot of fun writing this book. So I'm curious to know if there are any parts that you struggled to write, but parts that, had you left them out, would have left a gap in the story. So you were like, ugh, okay, this rumor I have to include, but let's get it out, or something of the sort. Was there something that you really didn't particularly like?
What I would have liked to have more in the book was about her swimming. That's very difficult because like a main trainer also refused to be interviewed for the book. I really tried very, very, very hard. I tried for months.
That's her Durban-based coach, right? So she started with Dean Price in South Africa, who was Joburg-based. So then there was the Durban-based coach. Remind me of his name?
Yeah. Graham Hill.
Graham Hill, that's right.
Okay, so Graham didn't want to talk to me. I really tried, but I got some of the other people. I just wanted something more about her swimming, because I think if you go and Google her, it's like, yes, she got this record and that record, but there's nothing more about what it took to become a swimmer in that day and age. But luckily, I got a few people to talk to me, which was great. There's one rumor that I didn't put in at all. I can't even remember which publication had it. There's this famous thing that about a year before she came to South Africa, somebody had lunch with them in the palace, and she cried through the whole luncheon, and she didn't leave the table. And I thought, how absolutely ridiculous, which woman is going to sit at a table and cry through the whole meal? You're going to get up and leave if you get emotional. And I just thought, no, but I just thought, no.
It has no bearing. It didn't, no. And there were no gaps in the story. That's why I'm asking, because there must have been something that, you put in that you were like, I'm not sure, but it's going to leave a bit out of this narrative. So was there nothing else that you were like, I don't believe this, but I'm going to put it in and I need to add the sources here?
That's a difficult question, Samantha. Because I couldn't speak to her herself or her family. I had to work from what is in the public domain. So much of the info about her the growing up years, I could luckily find in an interview she did 2018 with Fraught, which was great. It's also stuff that hasn't been covered overseas. They just always say, grew up in Zimbabwe, and then you get people on blogs that say, is Rhodesia and Zimbabwe the same country? But no, I think I tried to get the story of her life from start to finish. And I think by the choice of my words, I would have said, and I always say, it was rumors or stuff. I never state something as a fact if I don't know it for sure. And especially stuff that's written in some of the tabloids in Britain, like the Daily Mail. It's like a needle in a haystack. There's something in the story is true, but you don't really know exactly what it is. So I give, I will say it comes out of the Daily Mail, but I probably wouldn't have used everything that they had written in the story.
So while we're on the subject of the Daily Mail, there was a video, and you mentioned this, I did not know about it. The video with Mandy Wiener. She's an EWN reporter. She is 702's Midday Report host, a renowned South African journalist. And in July last year, she did a video interview with the princess, who was in the bush recuperating from what the palace officially said was ear, nose and throat surgery. Ear, nose and throat surgery. Kind of, not gone wrong, but she picked up an infection and passed out, and she could not equalize and therefore could not fly. So I am sharing my screen now with you. In the lead up to this interview, or to the end of this interview, she's speaking with Charlene just about her recovery, about the foundation's work with rhino awareness, and it seems like they're wrapping up the interview. And Charlene says thank you. And then Mandy adds that as a mom, she feels for Charlene being away from her kids for so long. And Charlene carries on speaking. So let's have a look and see what happens. Can you pull it in, Ty?
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And good luck with your healing journey and with the process. As a mom, I really feel for you. I can really relate to you.
Yeah, very frustrating. Hey, terribly frustrating. No, but it has to. I can't wait to get back to. I can't wait to see my children. But anyway, even if the recording hasn't stopped, it's okay, Sean. I think we should tell it. You would edit everything out.
Anyway, let's talk about the way she looks in this. She was obviously ill. She admitted to being ill. I'm not going to scrutinize like the tabloids. She gets incredibly passionate about being in Africa, being an African from Africa. Mandy's almost surprised. I'm not sure why. Surprised that she still feels African. Yeah. Of course she still feels African, Mandy. She just married into the principality. She is now a princess. And then she says thank you. And it gets to a point where Mandy commiserates with her about being a mom. And she starts, I wouldn't say running her mouth off, but it appears that her people around her thought that she did. I don't think there's anything wrong to say that it's frustrating that you can't. What she says is, yes, it's incredibly frustrating. For close to 7 months, she did not see her children. Yeah. And the situation is for a mother incredibly frustrating. There's no mother that I know that would do that willingly. And she just mentions that it's frustrating. And her brother Sean is in the background. And I know in the book you've said that her lawyer speaks on her behalf as well. Yeah. Sean's lawyer. There's a posse of people around her because she is so open. It is her nature to just be grounded and down to earth.
Yeah, and she's very spontaneous. And I think,
what was wrong with that, do you think? Because then her brother interjects and says, wrap it up, Charlene, stop saying that. And she says, it's okay, I'm sure they'll edit it out.
Edit it out, and they don't.
Which they don't. Yeah. At least not before the Daily Mail gets hold of it and starts a whole, strew of, rumors added to that. So what was the problem there? I don't understand it.
I wanted to put that in just to show that how caring that little brother and sister-in-law is about her, because they know what can happen if she says something. It sounds normal to say that it's been frustrating being away from my children, but in her position, if she says something like that, the press just go ballistic.
Do you know?
It's like living in a different universe. The rules that apply to our mere mortals, they don't apply to her because everything is being exaggerated.
I'm not here to start a conspiracy theory, so do not get me wrong, anyone listening to this or reading this or viewing this. But let me play devil's advocate and put on a different lens. Having a group of people around you silencing you when you're saying something fairly innocent in an interview, doesn't it smack a little bit of Britney Spears' conservatorship? He has these people, and those are the same people that held an intervention when she got back to Monaco late last year before she went to a mental health facility. Please don't get me wrong. I am, number one, an advocate for mental health awareness. I cannot say with any certainty that she is being controlled, but that's another thing that could be misconstrued there. For me, I wouldn't like it if even my loving family members were controlling the things that I said.
I wouldn't like it either, but that's up to her. That's up to her. I'm not going to speculate here. It is something that I try to highlight in the book, is that the people closest to her are the people who actually, yes, are on guard or are always there when she does interviews to check that she doesn't overstep. I don't know if perhaps she feels more comfortable with her family around her than people from the palace. So, yeah.
There's just a lot of speculation. Don't you wish that everyone could come out of the cloak and dagger and just speak about what's really going on?
It would be nice, but then, the moment when you know what's really going on, there's no mystery surrounding it. It's six of I don't know. It's one of those. It's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
I just think when I've spoken to a few people who have done interviews with her, is she's extremely open, really, really extremely open, and the few things that they say, please don't write about this or don't quote her about this. It's understandable stuff. It was more, I'm not going to, because then I'm also going to break confidences, but it's not, but like this, saying that you were terribly frustrated not seeing your children, it's a normal mum thing to say.
Of course.
It just made me love her more, actually.
Yeah.
I really admire. I really admire.
So let's talk more about her character, because for me, not to say she's two-faced or she has on masks or anything, it doesn't sound like her or the people of Monaco or a faction of some of the people in Monaco think very highly of her, which I take offense to as a South African and as someone who resonates with this woman and this mom. But to me, it seems like there are two Charlenes that have been put forward here: a grounded, confident, sporty, determined woman who can get through anything. She's shown her grit through her swimming, her dedication to swimming and to much else. And she doesn't mince her words, as you've termed it. But then there's the more shy, demure, anxious, anxiety-ridden woman. So maybe we call it Swimmer Charlene and Princess Charlene. It doesn't seem like she's enjoyed this stint as princess, even as a mom.
I think she has enjoyed it. I think she's gotten to, she started making inroads into what a princess, her image of a princess of Monaco is going to be. She's not going to be a Princess Grace. She never wanted to be Princess Grace. She's also not going to be a Princess Caroline. She just wants to be Charlene. And I think it will be interesting to see in the next 5 years how her role is going to develop. I think they went out for a very long time before they got engaged. They got married. Was waited 3 years before they had the children. Her life is very busy. If you just look at Prince Albert's official social media feed, that guy does about 3 engagements per day. And normally she was always with him. She is not currently doing that, which for me is fantastic, which means she is really looking after her health. And you can see in the latest pictures of her, the light has come back into her eyes, which for me is fantastic. And I think she's going to redevelop that role of what a princess of Monaco is, but in conjunction with being a wife and being the mother of twins. I think we just need to give her a little bit more time and give her the space. Give her that space.
Well, look, she is looking fabulous. I love a woman who's daring about her hair.
Yeah.
She's gone balls to the wall. Doesn't matter what people think. She went for
I think that her hair
look. It's a statement, right?
But it's the only thing that she's got to say over. Really, it's her way of showing what's going on.
Her fashion choices, going platinum. She is looking healthier than in that video with Mandy Wiener. I'll give her that, and I'll give her privacy as well. I'd like it if we could talk more about her mental health. If we could all be honest about that, I think it would do, as someone who advocates for the downtrodden in this world, I think it would do the world a lot of good if she did. But that's not to add more pressure to the poor princess.
No, but perhaps she's waiting to get to a place where she's in a better frame of mind and where she can, and she will surprise us all. Hopefully. And won't that be great?
So I wanted to ask you, about the foundation. It's a Learn to Swim foundation, and yet they focused a lot last year on planting trees. I'm not saying that that's not a worthwhile, enterprise or cause. And then the rhinos, saving the rhinos, and they went into that. So I'm a little bit confused as to what the foundation is really doing. You've spoken to Chantal. What's the skinny there?
The thing is with Charlene and Albert, they're both very committed to conservation. So that's where the rhinos come in. And obviously planting trees, it's like Queen Elizabeth's the green canopy. You plant trees for the environment and, for global warming, against global warming and stuff. But the thing that's her passion is teaching children how to swim and not to drown. And I know the foundation is also in partnership with the National NSRI in South Africa.
Sea Rescue Institute, yes.
Yeah, the Sea Rescue Institute. So she's made a huge change there. She's really made a huge, and that's the other thing I felt bad about in the book, because I actually wanted to dedicate a whole chapter just to the foundation, but due to no official, getting nothing, I left that out.
I'm just going to put it out there, Arlene, that confuses me as a journalist, as someone who it's on the tip of my tongue. There was a rugby player whose child tragically passed away last year from, he was 2, and the foundation didn't have much to say. As a parenting journalist, I followed up with them, and it was difficult to get hold of them. So as a South Africa-based foundation dedicated to Learn to Swim and championing all these other causes, it makes no sense to me that they wouldn't want to talk to you on record. And it makes no sense to me that I struggled to get hold of them as a journalist during that time. And I hope that things do change. Perhaps they are in flux as a foundation, and hopefully it's that. But I'm just going to maybe leave that out there, that it's strange for me. It's just the behavior around the foundation at this point is a little bit strange.
I think it's perhaps, I said to myself, don't feel like a failure because I don't want to talk to you, because the press has been so harsh with her. But on the other hand, you're right, the foundation has a big role to play in South Africa, but perhaps due to her being ill, because what I could gather was she's very hands-on with the foundation too. So perhaps, the foundation will come back with a bang. I hope so. So if anyone from the foundation is listening, here are 2 journalists who have high hopes for what you are able to achieve based on what you've already been able to achieve. Yeah.
last question for you, Arlene, and that's about the Grimaldi curse. Mentioned sort of throughout the book. You go into detail. It's something that you kind of latch onto. It's a thread throughout the book. I didn't know about it at all. So what's the premise here? What is the Grimaldi curse? And then you highlight media attention and the way the media has handled this family as the actual curse. So what is it? What's the premise of the curse?
It's in the 14th century. One of Albert's forefathers apparently took a girl against her will. Some stories say it was a Flemish young woman. Another one says it was a witch. And she didn't like his romantic advances, and she cursed him. And she cursed all Grimaldis, all their marriages to be unhappy. So obviously, even in this modern day and age, it's something that the media just loves, And when all the rumors and stuff started, I mean, what do you want? There's a big age difference between them. She's young and beautiful. She was an Olympic swimmer. You've got this curse that comes, from the 14th century and stuff. So it's just a lovely, lovely thing in the mix. And I just thought, for me, in the modern day and age, the curse isn't that witch on the stake. It's the media that just goes all out for her.
I want to say two things on that. And that's that you and I are also the media. So which media are we focusing on here? Let's focus on the media who have the public's best interests at heart, right? So that's saying one. Whenever anybody says, oh, the media, I'm just like, hang on. I'm the media. I'm the media too. As are you. And so is your book. Yes. Your book is part of the media. Number one. Number two, Prince Albert didn't do himself any favors with his reputation as the Playboy Prince. No. Let's admit that. With 3 illegitimate, is it 3? Is it confirmed 3 illegitimate children? Which, no judges, guy. You do what you need to do. We all have our things. It's royals, followers, and protocol and etiquette that has decided that this is so bad. This is so terrible. So all I'm saying is, he didn't do himself or his princess any favors with his behavior as a Playboy prince, right?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't, and he was actually the one who said, he pities the one who's going to marry him one day because he thinks the woman is going to have a hard time. And he was right. He was right. And that's all. Also, if you look, and I hope that comes out in the book, is that he tried to keep her illness private because he knows that everything in their lives are poured over. But I'm just glad that it's going to sound funny perhaps, but I'm glad that she got ill in South Africa, where people remember her as Charlene Woodstock and gave her that privacy that, nobody in none of the hospital, if she was in a hospital here, even at the ER where she was treated when she collapsed, nobody was prepared to, for a few $1,000 to sneak a picture or say something to something or to a tabloid journalist. For me, that is, I think the country took care of her last year.
Well done, South Africa. We did good, I think. I think we do. I think we treat people with kindness. More so than... I got angry reading your book. Just based on the way she's been treated. It's definitely not fair. As I say, I'm not a royals apologist. I'm not a follower. And there's no amounts of glamour or pomp or tradition or ceremony that will convince me that hierarchies like this aren't damaging. I know there's plenty the world over. I know principalities and kingdoms, etc. are still a reality. No amount of any of that glamour can convince me that I would sign up for what Charlene has signed up for. So I think we'll end off with, do you think she's okay? Do you think she's okay? You mentioned that it looks like she will get past this, and in 5 years, that remains to be seen.
I think she is okay. I think she's on the way to heal. And the one thing that I really it's for me, it's wonderful to see that she's not doing an engagement every day. She's spacing herself. And for me, that is the best thing. And I hope that teaches us all a lesson. in this crazy life that we live. You know, we've got a war in the Ukraine, and we've got rising living costs, and we've got load shedding and
water
everything
outages.
Yes, water outages is just give yourself also time to heal, because the world is so damaging around us that we need time to heal.
Yeah. Arlene Prinsloo, I think your book is worth reading, whether you enjoy Royal's content or whether you just enjoy reading about a South African who has made us proud. And yeah, we will be in touch in years to come. Hopefully more happens and you have more to write about. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
On Current Read.